So this we're sitting here Sunday morning, the day after Parshas Truma, and about a week to go to Parshas Tetzaveh. And this past week we got a little carried away, and we didn't have a chance to record anything on Parshas Truma. But Truma and Tetzaveh, though they're not two parshas that go together, but they very much speak of one theme. It's the Mishkan, the interior of the Mishkan, all of the artifacts that were needed, the Aron, the Menorah, the Shulchan, and the structure, Truma, and then Parshas Tetzaveh, a continuation of the clothing of the Kohen, and so on. So, in Parshas Tetzaveh, there's a phenomena that we all know. The name of Moshe Rabbeinu, it's the only parsha from the time that Moshe is born where his name is not mentioned. And the Chazal tell us that this is a byproduct of Moshe Rabbeinu saying, after the Chet HaEgel, trying to beseech the Rabbeinu Shalom to forgive him, to forgive Klal Yisrael for the Chet. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, look, if you're not going to do it, mecheni no misifracha, take my name out of the Sefer Torah. I don't want any part in it. And even though it came to be that the Rabbeinu Shalom did forgive them, but the fact that Moshe uttered those words, it had to come true in some way. And therefore, Parshas Tetzaveh is that parsha that we take out the name of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's a fulfillment of the Mecheni Na Misifracha. Interesting, the Vilna Gaon says, the amount of psukim in Parshas Tetzaveh is Kuf Aleph, 101. The name Moshe, if you take his name, and each letter we know you can spell out the letter, like for spelling the name Mem is Mem Mem. Shin, Shin Yud Nun. Hey is Hey Aleph. So if you take all of the hidden letters, meaning not the first letter, the letters that you don't see when it's written, which is the Mem from Mem, the Yud and Nun from Shin, the Aleph from Hey, if you add those together, the hidden letters of Moshe's name, it equals 101. So even though Moshe's name is not out in the open, but hiddenly, of course, it's there. Right? I always wonder about this. If you want to take out Moshe's name from a parsha, it should be after Kisisa. After the Chet HaEgel, if Moshe Rabbeinu said, Mecheni no misifracha, in Parshas Kisisa, so in a subsequent parsha, that's where Moshe's name should be taken out. So if you learn like Rashi and the Sfor knew that Truma Tetzaveh was said after Kisisa because the Egel came first, and then came the Mishkan, okay, maybe that makes sense. But if you like the Ramban and the Zohar, who says these parshas are in the proper order, they got the Torah, then they got the commandment to build a Mishkan, and the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, then they did the Chet HaEgel, and then they still actually built the Mishkan. So why is Moshe's name not in Tetzaveh? It should be out of Pekudei. You hear the question? I'm talking here to two, right? You hear the question? All right. So I said like this. We think that Moshe's name being taken out of Tetzaveh is a result of his statement that he said, take my name out. No, what the Torah is telling us something different. The Torah is telling us, how can it be that Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the leader of Klal Yisrael, sitting in the highest position of the nation and maybe of the world, about to be this great people, and who just left Mitzrayim, and Moshe was he was the one. He took them out of Mitzrayim. He led them across the Yam Suf. He brought them the Torah. Right? It's he's a focus point on this whole event. How could it be that he comes and is willing to say, take me out of this, I don't want any part of it? Right? Where does it come from to have that midah? Because you don't just wake up one day and become so not self-centered. It doesn't happen. It is because that is who he was. It was never about him. It was always about Klal Yisrael. A leader like that, who's not focused on himself and what he can get from it, and the covet and the honor and the talent that he has, he's the kind of leader who, when push comes to shove, is willing to say, look, I'm out. So the Torah wants us to know that. So in the parsha before Kisisa, Moshe's name is not mentioned in the parsha of Tetzaveh to tell you, don't think he woke up one day and he was willing to sacrifice everything. No, he never made it about him. You hear? So this is telling us that that's who Moshe is. And interesting, it's in a parsha that talks about the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, the uniform. What's the purpose of the uniform? I once heard a chaplain from the army saying that when he became a chaplain, and a chaplain becomes a captain right away, so the head general of the chaplains said, look, you're going to walk through the base now, and all of a sudden, till now, no one saluted you. Now you're a captain. You have your stripes, whatever it is. They're going to start saluting you. I want you to know they're not saluting you. It's not you. It's the uniform. A uniform is a way for the kohen to remember, leave your personality, leave the you, in your locker. You take off your clothing, that's you. Put it in the locker. Now you put on the uniform. You belong to the people. So in this parsha of Tetzava, parsha of talking about, belonging to the people, doing the work for the people, Moshe Rabbeinu says Torah tells us that's who Moshe was. And it's an important message for all of us on a daily basis to remember that it's not about us. Thank you.